nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News Weekend Edition with Jeanette Roche.
Hello, thanks for joining us for our Week in Review. Deputy Prime Minister Phelan was in Calgary recently saying it is appropriate to declare Russia's occupation of Ukraine a genocide. Thousands of Ukrainians have reportedly been killed and brutalized since Russia invaded the country on February 24th. Russian President Vladimir Putin has gone on record saying he wants to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine.
War crimes have been committed in Ukraine. They are being committed in Ukraine. The evidence that we've seen in Bucha and other parts of Ukraine that have been under Russian occupation is absolutely horrifying. And I do want to take a moment to underscore that one of the things that is happening is the systematic rape of Ukrainian women and children. Rape is being used as a weapon in this war, and I want the women of Ukraine to know that we see them, we are not going to forget, and we will work with Ukraine and with our democratic allies around the world to bring the perpetrators to justice.
A number of media outlets have made a court application to have legal documents related to the Coutts border blockade unsealed. It's been adjourned until May the 2nd. The request relates to search warrants issued for the 4 men who face conspiracy to commit murder charges. The various media organizations want to make the information public. 7 youths in Edmonton have been arrested and face charges in the stabbing death of 16-year-old Kiranveer Sahota. The teenager was attacked at a bus stop outside of McNally High School on April 8th and died a week later of his injuries. Edmonton police say the youths were charged with attempted murder, but the Crown is reviewing the case and the charges will be upgraded. Chief Dale McPhee says the investigation is complex, but he applauds the cooperation of witnesses and school officials. Edmonton City Council passed a motion to decriminalize simple personal possession of illegal drugs. The policy is an attempt to reduce drug poisoning injuries and deaths. Last year, 624 people in Edmonton died of opioid overdoses and poisonings. City staff will now prepare a submission to Health Canada for an exemption to the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. Vancouver and Toronto have also made similar requests but have not been approved. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is reporting more outbreaks of bird flu in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Avian influenza was identified late last week in 3 poultry flocks in Alberta and 2 in Saskatchewan. Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada says the industry is making adjustments to maintain supplies of poultry and eggs with this outbreak in Canada and globally. The Alberta government announced that more assistance is on the way to help connect unemployed or underemployed Albertans with the growing number of jobs in our economy. Premier Jason Kenney says an additional $23 million over 3 years will be spent as part of the Canada-Alberta Job Grant. It will help business owners with the skills they need to grow and diversify. An additional $41 million over 3 years will support Alberta's training for work programs.
We're investing in new training, providing funding to post-secondary institutions, training the unemployed, and retraining the underemployed. And this is Alberta at Work. Alberta at Work will remove barriers to good jobs for anyone who is underrepresented in the workforce, recently graduated, or who needs to change to a new job.
Alberta plans to expand bereavement leaves for employees and time off for reservists taking part in training or military operations. The province currently allows 3 days unpaid leave for an employee when a family member dies. A bill tabled in the legislature would extend that unpaid leave to employees who experience a miscarriage or stillbirth. The bill also proposes abolishing the current 20-day limit for reservists taking time off for training duties. They would be allowed as much time as their training requires. The province announced that thanks to a partnership with Ottawa, it will be awarding 2 grants totaling $900,000 for the Alberta hemp industry. Inca, a globally recognized hemp manufacturing company, will receive a grant up to $400,000. Blue Sky Hemp Ventures will receive a grant of $500,000 towards their Alberta-based hemp food processing facility. Up next, from AB to AZ, it appears many Albertans have made a move to the U.S., and a lot of them are ending up in Arizona. We speak with one of them about why this is happening. That's after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, life has changed a lot over the past 2 years for nearly everyone, but an interesting and unintended consequence of the COVID pandemic is a trend toward Canadians moving to other countries. Home media mom Val Olson is an Arizona transplant from Medicine Hat, Alberta. She joined Hal Roberts this week to discuss this phenomenal trend of more and more Albertans leaving the country.
Now, Val, you're currently in Arizona. Would you say that you're in a bit of a Canadian enclave there?
I use the events that are happening in my community as a good gauge because people are driving and you can tell by their license plates where they're from. So you're not going to go very far. You're going to see Saskatchewan and Alberta license plates everywhere. And the locals here feel like they're as much Arizonian as they are Canadian community-wise because we're just basically a small group of like-minded people. And it really feels like that. There's not a lot of difference between Arizona and Alberta.
Now, what do you think motivated a lot of Albertans to move to Arizona?
I would say definitely culture. And when you look at what you have for laws here in this state in particular, people are flocking to Arizona, not just from Alberta, but all parts of the country. Arizona is a real hot spot, just not for the climate, but for the freedoms. We have a very ultra conservative constitutionalist sheriff, and the sheriffs in Arizona, it's like the Wild West. So, when they say something, it sticks, and they're very much committed to working for the people. That is the mandate of their job.
Now, Val, I can understand snowbirds going down to Arizona when it's, minus 10 or 15 degrees or minus 20 with the snow here. But what about Arizona in the summertime where it's 100 degrees in the shade? How do you put up with that? I guess everybody's got air conditioning.
It's hot and you get climatized fast. Definitely, you get used to it. But there are a lot of Canadians that haven't left, that came here before the pandemic, and they said, we're not going back. We see the craziness that's happening and the loss of freedoms. And they say, we'll get used to the weather. It's the way of life here, the peacefulness, the pleasantries that many Canadians are choosing not to return back to Canada.
How about some of the locals where you are in Arizona? Are they okay with the Canadian invasion?
They are. In fact, I had a group of elderly women. They were, in their 70s and 80s. They're very active politically. And they took it upon themselves to meet with some of their Canadian neighbors and talk about what was going on in Canada. How could they pray for them? And also saying to them, look, what's happening in your country is socialism. It's bordering on communism. You're losing your rights. We want to help you stay here.
The UCP leadership review is underway, as you know, and we will know the fate of Premier Jason Kenney on May the 18th. Any thoughts on if he will survive as party leader?
I don't think he's going to survive as party leader. It's getting harder on him. You can tell just in his tone and the way he talks. And he refers to just average Canadians like you or I as being lunatics. That's his word of choice when he groups those who don't agree with them. And he's feeling really sad and sorry for himself that he, describes right now being a premier in Alberta as bone crushing. I don't feel sorry for him. I feel that he sold out Alberta's interests like all globalists do. We know what we get with him, and nobody wants him or his thug group of globalists any longer masquerading as conservatives. Just because you fly a conservative flag doesn't mean anything.
So if Kenney doesn't survive the leadership review, Val, Who would you like to see take over as party leader? Maybe Finance Minister Travis Taves? Or how about even Brian Jean, the former leader of the Alberta Wild Rose Party?
Well, I definitely I like Brian Jean. Brian Jean had a chance at it. I would have to sit down really and get into some deep conversations with Brian Jean before I would just start flying the Brian Jean flag again. As for who I want, I'm going to propose this, Hal, a complete just overhaul of how the system has done it, and instead of these politicians lying, cheating, scamming, dishonest, not following through with things, I say we look at it a different way. And the people elect somebody that we want as a representative. So, from a grassroots approach, we find the best of the best and we put them in office, which is the way it's supposed to be.
Up next, has the business culture changed since the pandemic? Well, we find out after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Spring is underway here in our city of Lethbridge, and with that, it seems a new leaf has been turned. As with many other Alberta towns and cities, Lethbridge's economy is growing and businesses are moving forward following the pandemic. Earlier this week, I was joined by Lethbridge's Chamber of Commerce CEO Cindy Bester to discuss how the city's business culture is changing. Take a look. Businesses are coming back after the last 2 years. So would you call this a rebound?
It's difficult to call it a rebound fully. There are some businesses that are, we're seeing people re-enter our business, which is fantastic. But there's that change over of people wanting to come back to business and feeling comfortable in business. So it's not fully rebounded yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was a tough 2 years that we went through.
Absolutely. And I think, we're seeing different things I don't want to I want to sound positive because there is definitely growth in some areas, but there's still a lot of struggle that we're seeing with utility costs, with inflation. So there's different challenges there.
Here in Lethbridge, we have a place called Tech Connect, a place for entrepreneurs, and it's basically known for being Southern Alberta's hub for innovation and technology, right? So what can you tell us about Tech Connect and how it's been helping the business community?
It's a great part of economic development, Lethbridge, and that's kind of one of their great cornerstone pieces. And it gives those new up and comers the ability to test the waters and see what's out there, but also access to advisors, access to potential funding, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal. So it opens a lot of doors that people would not be aware of otherwise.
Okay. And how's it helping the growth of technology businesses in our community?
The availability and the access and the creative minds that are coming out of there are fantastic.
For sure. Now, Cindy, do you think the technology sector is an area that we could see more growth in Lethbridge?
I think there's so many different industries that we're going to see growth in because the one thing the pandemic has done, it has taught us that we need to look at various ways to make things work. Broadband is one of those things that we need to improve on, and that's a policy that the Lethbridge Chamber brought forward federally, and we're seeing progress, but we need to see more. So, like even how we're doing our interview right now, it's whoever thought of this 2.5, 3 years ago.
I wanted to talk about 2 recent successes in our city, and that's the expansion of the Lethbridge Airport and, of course, the new agri-food hub and trade center. So first, let me ask you about the airport renovations and expansion. It's always exciting when an airport expands. So what's your take on the recent projects at the airport?
That is excellent. We need to have access to various flights and ease of access. And so it's exciting to see that, I know WestJet is going to be reopening up some of their flights. which, is important for, whether we're going to Edmonton or whether we're going wherever we're going out there, it's nice to have that access. And, with Flare coming and us being able to go down to Arizona, but it also gets people from Arizona up here, so it's that two-way street. And so I'm really excited about some of the possibilities of expanding that to other destinations.
I was really excited about that announcement too, because I used to live in Tucson and some of my best friends are down there. So now that's an easy access right there.
Well,
Hopefully it actually all comes together.
It will come together. And that was, you talked about Exhibition Park. We just hosted our long table event during the Home and Garden Show.
Yes.
So we had talked about, this is great that we'll be able to fly down to Tucson, but bring your friends up here so they can see all the amazing things we have going. And even if you think about the tourism opportunities in Lethbridge and focus on, we've got some great things within a short distance of Lethbridge.
When we return, a conversation with an apothecary owner to discuss the differences between Eastern and Western philosophies of medicine. Is this something that Alberta's healthcare system should consider? What do you think? Join our Twitter to have your say. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Is the Albertan, or for that matter, the Canadian healthcare system in need of a philosophical change? The COVID pandemic really shook many components of our daily lives, including our healthcare system. Even before the pandemic, many were saying the Western system of medicine used by Alberta Health is a broken system. But what are the alternatives? Are there any? Earlier this week, we were joined by Cami Tanner of Urban Apothecary.
Now, Cam, you have a vision of natural health that may be a little bit different from what we're accustomed to here in Canada. Can you explain what that vision really is?
Yeah, we have opened up a shop that brings in a lot of natural products to help heal the body. Things like herbs and mushrooms that are grown in nature that work to really heal different problems within the body.
Now, do you feel that there is a way for families to be healthier and happier through natural ways outside of Western medical philosophy?
One of the easiest things is growing a garden. Start growing your own food naturally. You're growing it and eating it right off the vine, straight out of the garden, so you're not dealing with respiration process or travel time from growing it in different areas and having it transported. You're getting the maximum amount of nutrients. Plus, going out and getting some sunshine and vitamin D is one of the healthiest things you can do. And those are simple things.
Yeah, the vitamin D and a little bit of exercise, which is good for the heart as well, right? Taking your dog for a walk, going for a bit of a run, or just a walk around the neighborhood, right? Something very simple like that can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Now, Cami, let's dig a little bit deeper into plants for health. The Bible talks about the balm of Gilead. Can you talk about where this plant actually comes from and how beneficial it is?
Those are actually the pods from like the balsam poplar tree and a black cottonwood tree. And it's the sticky resin that comes off of those pods that is turned into a balm or a salve used for healing. The Gilead comes from the actual location of where that originated from. But it helps with anything from healing aspect to inflammation to pain.
Also, people suffering from arthritis as well, or maybe have an injury, something is swollen with the joint. May that help in that regard too?
Absolutely, yes.
Now, here in Southern Alberta, agriculture is a key industry. Are there growers in Southern Alberta who supply what you and Tony use when helping other people?
There are. I mean, you can look at a lot of like the herb aspect. Peppermint, mint, basil. There's a lot of herb growers here that you can utilize and that we utilize to use for some of the things that we make.
Now, with the hot Southern Alberta summer on the way, are there herbs or plants that can really help people beat the heat?
anything is in the mint family is probably your best bet, an easiest way to utilize for cooling us down. So peppermint tea, for example, making an iced tea out of peppermint will help cool you down, but it will also help you perspirate. So another healing aspect. So anything in the mint family, peppermint, catnip, even chamomile are great things to go for in the summer to cool you down.
Now, there's certain fruits or vegetables we should maybe steer clear of when it comes to maybe potential healing medicinal properties that we think, this is very beneficial, when in fact it might be more harmful?
There are herbs that you should be careful using if you don't know what you're doing, especially in large amounts. For example, pennypurse is an herb that can cause abortion. So, people used to take those in the old days. And so that's one thing that you really, really want to be careful for. There's some are herbs that can become poisonous if not utilized in the right way.
And maybe some poisonous mushrooms out there as well that we need to steer clear of, right?
Yes. And the thing is, if you don't know what you're looking for, you can take the wrong one and be in a lot of trouble. So it's very important to really identify and know what you're looking for and be 100% sure before you ingest anything.
Now, Cam, you seem to be a big supporter of mushrooms. Do you find that more people are not only growing their gardens outside, but maybe growing mushrooms inside or maybe somewhere else in their homes?
You can grow mushrooms in your garden. There's great videos and things that you can watch to buy your own mycelium to grow your own mushroom gardens. We also do grow kits in the store where you can take a grow kit home and you just open up the package and spray it every day, and you'll start fruiting your own mushrooms in your house. And those have been really popular as of lately.
Coming up next, we take a look at the stories that made the headlines locally this week, including a Lethbridge post-secondary that's making room for some furry friends. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, there was a classroom full of furry friends on campus at Lethbridge College on Wednesday. The Lethbridge College Students Association was adding a little D&D, or doggy de-stress, during finals week. As Nathan Ryder reports, the canines were very popular.
With final exams on the horizon, the Lethbridge College Students Association are providing a friendly and furry way for students to relieve stress. Doggy De-Stress took place on campus this week and takes over a classroom where students can freely come and go and interact with dogs. Tanner Marcer, the events and communication manager for the LCSA, says that Doggy De-Stress brings a feeling of home to campus.
It has been wonderful. A lot of smiles, a lot of cuddles, a lot of pets for the dogs too. So I really think the dogs appreciate it. This event has been going on for about 7 years, I believe. It got the idea from just a good idea for stress relief for students. I don't think there's anything better than a dog greeting you when you come home. And if that feeling could be brought to campus during exam time, I think it'll be positive for students.
Finnegan and Wiley worked the morning shift of Doggy De-Stress. Both got plenty of attention from students.
Finnegan, can you tell me what it means for you to help students here at the Lethbridge College?
Sam Feature is a multimedia production student who attended the Doggy De-Stress. They say having the ability to socialize and pet the dogs helps with the stress of the semester's final crunch.
Well, it's finals week. Have a lot of final projects to do, and it gets overwhelming and stressful. So being able to come down and pet some dogs and be able to chat with other people and see my friends really helps.
For Bridge City News, I'm Nathan Ryder.
Well, I feel de-stressed already seeing those little puppies. Well, it's a sad reality that there are a number of homeless in our community. For these individuals, personal grooming and hygiene is nearly impossible, but it's an important psychological step in their mental well-being. A local organization is wanting to help by offering haircutting services. Streets Alive Mission has already started renovations for a salon, but according to Director of Operations Cam Kissick, they're still in need of more funds to complete the project.
We needed about $4,000 to cover the renovation costs. And we've already raised approximately $3,000 of that. So we're about $1,000 short to finish the fundraising for the renovation cost. On top of that, there is a couple monthly expenses that happens once this is in operations that we will be looking for people who are willing to make a monthly donation towards the Care Cuts Center.
Those wishing to donate to the Streets Alive Care Cuts project are encouraged to reach out to the organization. Well, it's been a long time coming, but site preparations are underway for a new West Side School in Lethbridge. The building located in Gary Station will have the capacity to accommodate 900 students. Now, construction on the building won't take place until 2023. The division is looking at opening the doors to the welcoming new students by the fall of 2025.
Groundbreaking, there's two different kinds of groundbreaking. We're right now in design for site grades and the playing fields. In the playing fields are usually developed about 2 years in advance of opening so that they have time to grow out and be established. So that's being done by the developer right now. So that's just in design. We're hoping to be out for tender relatively soon, or the developer is, and construction work shall begin late spring and should be wrapped up by October.
Claire's Home is home to one of the only drop-in clubhouses in southern Alberta dedicated to people struggling with mental health issues. For the first time in 2 years, a fundraising 5K walk will be held in person to support Sparta House. The event, called Sparta Stomp, hopes to raise awareness for mental health and to stomp out many of the stigmas attached to it.
At the clubhouse, we talk a lot about the stigma that surrounds mental health. We have, lots of people feel really insecure about getting a job or employment because they're not sure of employers' understanding. Even just people don't tend to be comfortable disclosing their illness, even in their, family life, social circles, just because they're worried about the stigma. There is a really negative stigma that surrounds mental health, just a lot of, what you hear in the media sometimes is like the most extremes and the worst. So we wanted to just kind of flip the script.
The event will take place Saturday, May 7th in Claire's Home. You can register in person the day of the event just outside of Sparta House, located in Claire's Home. Coal mining in Alberta's Eastern Rockies has been a topic of contention over the past several years, but according to Crow's Nest past Mayor Blair Painter, coal mining in Canada is an ethical way to extract Alberta's resources. That is coming up next.